There's the Sully Band. Good to see you guys today. In studio, one of our favorite guests. In fact, we had such a great conversation last week. I got, if I get, Troy Hazard on the line, or Steve Forbes, or you name one, we get, 6, 7 emails. I got something like 30 emails on our next guest. His name is Lior Tal. He is the CEO of a company called Cyngn, like engine, right? Cyngn. Their stock symbol is CYN. And they are in the business of this little thing called ChatGPT and AI. Can you explain for the world what the heck that is? Because I sort of feel like ChatGPT and AI were like when we first got email. Remember that? So you're saying I could type something over the intraweb, right? Is it that significant in your mind?
I think it's huge. But first, we are in self-driving for industrial applications.
Right.
We're definitely in AI, and ChatGPT, and I'll talk a little bit about it. But you need to understand what it is when it's on The Simpsons or.
Yeah. That's exactly.
There's a whole episode about that.
That's the bar. Yes, when it's on that's the bar. Let's talk about that because you guys developing autonomous forklifts and autonomous mining trucks and such is one thing. But the fact of the matter is AI is this thread that's running through everything. And every time you say AI now, you got to hear ChatGPT. And you brought it up last time, and it caused a big fervor in the audience. When you say, okay, have this guy explain what it is and how it applies to a company like you're an industrial company.
So maybe let's start with what ChatGPT is and then expand from there. ChatGPT is an algorithm. It's a software that was developed by a company called OpenAI, one of Elon Musk's companies. And it's what's called a large language model neural network. And the specific one is generative pre-trained transformer. Now, forget everything I said. It's a system that you can interact with using natural language. You can ask a question. You can ask it to summarize something. My son is preparing for bar mitzvah. I asked ChatGPT to write me 500-word welcome speech for bar mitzvah. Work done.
And basically, and by the way, it's gleaning information all over the internet, all over the universe, the metaverse, everywhere else, and creating something almost immediately that's relevant.
So that's the great difference about this. There are two things that make ChatGPT and this generation of AI very unique. One is huge amounts of data that are used to develop it. The neural network is developed like our brain does. It creates connections between things, and it identifies patterns. And the whole purpose of that model is to determine what the next word in the sentence has to be.
Well, and what's crazy about this, if you've ever read ChatGPT text, it's the ability for it to create analogies in the middle of a freaking sentence that is basically generated by zeros and ones, right?
Like it's getting close to the point where you will not be able to understand you're talking to a machine and not to a person.
Yeah.
That's very close. Now, the real importance in this situation is it's a huge model based on a lot of data. Think about the entire body of literature and Wikipedia fed into the development.
Sure.
And it holds context. So you can ask it a question, then have a follow-on question. So you can really talk to it. Now, this is the first time, AI has been in development since the 50s, but this is the first time where it's made available to the public in such a mature state, where it's actually usable. I have people from the finance team, the marketing team, the business team. Everyone interacts with it and can ask questions and have it support them. Think about the general population, healthcare, everything finance, everything just
Well, the concern is, and it comes to your company, and by the way, Lior Tal is our guest. He's the CEO of Cyngn. Their stock symbol is CYN. For me, garbage in, garbage out, which you've seen happen a couple times in the news where someone tried to use ChatGPT for a speech or a television script. For you as an industrial company, the question on your website, I think, says, why aren't industrial vehicles driving themselves, if I'm not mistaken?
Yep.
That's a dangerous place to be when we're depending on this technology. What happens if AI and GPT get it wrong in the applications that you guys are specializing in?
Terminator 7.
Skynet.
And I think we brought it up last time, really. So the way it's handled today is the model is developed initially like a baby, and then there is a group of moderators, people that sit and crop the edges. This is why it's not exposed to the open internet, but to a much more curated set of
Sure.
books and text. And then the model learns what's good, what's bad, and becomes confined. Now, people know how to hack it. People are
Sure.
playing with it. And ChatGPT is not the only one. There is Google, one called Bard, and Meta has Llama. You see more and more of them coming out. The first stage is a lot of people involvement. There's an army of people out of Africa supporting OpenAI and Facebook to curate those. Over time, they become better and better, and you don't need the people.
It's almost like miners on cryptocurrency. You have people verifying versus just throwing information out there. Talk about Cyngn. This is pretty interesting stuff. We're talking about automated industrial vehicles and such, and that's really what we talked about last time when you were here. But I think one of the issues is that when companies are dependent, and even we have to talk about the Silicon Valley Bank too. I mean, you're a business that could have feasibly used a bridge loan from SVB at some point, and now you're looking at a banking crisis, and you're trying to run a publicly traded company. So we'll get to that in a second. But talk about the company itself, because I think that it caused a big fervor a little bit when we had you on last time. Because who knew that 1984 Orwell was actually sitting in our studio? Talk about that.
I cannot confirm nor deny that we're looking at everything you're doing.
I saw you ring the bell at NASDAQ. I know where you were.
We ended 2021 with the plan to take 2 years, build the team, do a pilot here, pilot there, create some partnerships, and then really start making money in 2024. This is sort of what we took on the roadshow. 2 months later, the world changed. We came to January.
Yeah.
All of that was not valid anymore. It was all just show me the money.
Right, exactly.
Right? So the point was taken. We started really thinking, what can we pull in? Instead of one deployment, we ended up with 5. And by the way, a lot of this you can see in a video released last week. We just released earnings, Q4 and annual. So a lot of it is laid out there, but sort of trying to put it all in order. We had multiple deployments with customers for pilots. We grew the team from about 40 people at the end of 21 to almost 100 people now.
Yeah.
And this is really the core team that we need to really turbo boost what we're doing now and execute. In order to get revenues faster, our main focus initially was warehouses, material handling vehicles, like the stock chaser you see on the website. We decided to pull 2 other applications into this year. The first one was in heavy industry, very large forklifts.
Sure.
We work with a company that develops construction material. And they have thousands of vehicles, they have hundreds of facilities, and they need to automate them. They need to electrify them. And they're paying us to develop our solution for their purpose. The second one is, again, like you said, is starting to expand into mining. Mining by itself is a huge addressable market. Automation goes a long way there for safety, for augmenting workforce. There's a very big labor shortage. The ability to do all these 3 things together is because we could increase the size of the team and really dial up the execution engine. And really, the way we think about this is in times of crisis, some companies don't make it, and the ones that do make it are stronger. It's evolution.
Right? Well, it's true, and I've got to ask you about that because, look, and I'll spend some time in Silicon Valley Bank in a bit, but at the end of the day, Silicon Valley Bank failed because there's an inverse relationship between bonds and interest rates. Interest rates went up, bonds went down. The reserves at Silicon Valley Bank were largely backed by bonds, meaning that the bank's going to fail. Look, does that smell like 2008 banking crisis with the mortgage-backed security? Yeah. It's exactly what happened. And it was a good old-fashioned bank run. At the end of the day, most depositors are not going to suffer from that type of action because most people don't have $250,000 sitting in the bank. If they got that much money, they're usually investing it. Your FDIC insured at $250,000. If you're married, it's $500,000. But for you as a business, okay, it affects small business. Are you concerned about the banking industry as a publicly traded company?
6 months ago, if you'd asked me what I'm thankful for, banking with B of A was not one of the things I'll tell you.
Yeah, right.
That really changed today. And we could as easily be on the other side of that equation, but the fact that we're very conservative, we really think about, the aggression in our business, not with managing the money we have. But you see many companies on the other side that didn't end up on the good side of that. But really, when I think about Silicon Valley Bank and everything that's happening there, I think about the concept of disruption, right?
Yeah.
They failed because of their strong long-term bond position. But what caused that was they expected the world to remain at low interest.
Well, sure.
Nokia expected to continue dominating the mobile space.
Exactly right.
Facebook
With the highest
expected-
inflation in 40 years, what do you expect to happen to interest rates, right?
Right.
Will you come back and see us some point?
Of course.
Lior Tal is his name, CEO. Cyngn, stock symbol CYN. More Big Biz coming up. That is a good question. Why aren't your industrial vehicles driving themselves? Costa doesn't even drive himself.